Hey guys, Boss and Ramos, and today the Miami Dolphins defeated the New York Jets 32-0. Big shutout by the Miami Dolphins. Way to bounce back from a huge, horrible loss on Monday Night Football. And the defense pitching a shutout is kind of almost all you can ask for. Giving the Dolphins great field position, all you can ask for. Uh, Overall, great game by the Dolphins. I wouldn't say this is totally expected, but when it's facing a team like the New York Jets, and this is no slight at the New York Jets, this is what you should be doing against teams that are not on the same level as them right now. And it sucks for the Jets because without Aaron Rodgers, things are a lot different than what the Jets fans expected this season. But Dolphins completed the season sweep on them this year, and 2 for 2 on season sweep so far. There's one of them that it's completely out of question. But let's jump in the highlight. Uh, the boys were getting after it. Wilkins and Chubb combined for a strip sack fumble. Zach Sealer recovers. And guess what? We almost had another big man touchdown again by Zach Sealer. If he didn't get touched just right there, tough one by him. Raheem Mostert getting the end zone. This would take him in the lead for all-time in single season franchise record. Touchdowns for the Miami Dolphins. He passes Ricky Williams. Boys combining again on a sack on Zach Wilson. Just nowhere to go. He ended up getting benched. Trevor Seaman comes in and just heaves one up. Brandon Jones comes down with it. Raheem Mostert just adding on to that total. Attaboy Raheem. And then who said Tua can't throw deep without Tyreek? We got Waddle putting on the burners on Reed. Man, oh man, this is a completely different game than when the Dolphins played them in MetLife Stadium on Black Friday. So I love to see the progression in that sense. Absolute masterclass by the defense. I think, shutting someone out in the NFL is really hard to do. And the fact that they were able to do that and then put the Dolphins offense in great field position and then Dolphins offense capitalizing off of that, all in all, good news. One thing I must address is the Buffalo Bills beat the Dallas Cowboys today, which is absolutely tough. It doesn't give the Dolphins any leeway right now because, believe it or not, the Dolphins have the hardest remaining schedule in all of football. And this was something that I alluded to when they came out with the schedule. I'm like, that is a tough stretch down the end of the year. And that was with the expectation that Aaron Rodgers was going to be playing. But, kudos to the Jets. They're no slouch, but, man, getting shut out against this Dolphins team does them no good at all. So Dolphins improved to 10-4, have a 2-game lead on the Buffalo Bills, who are 2-6. Jets fall to 5-9, and I believe are eliminated from playoff contention. I think they're not completely eliminated. I think they have a slim chance if everything goes right for them, but I don't think it will. Do I think Aaron Rodgers is gonna play this season? I don't see the point. Don't come in and risk injuring yourself once again and possibly ending your career for a team that is basically eliminated from the playoffs. If there's any Jets fans watching and have any certain opinion, let me know. My opinion is save it for next year. And it's not even me trashing them. It's just me I love Aaron Rodgers. I have his Green Bay Packers jersey. That's a certain guy that I, will root for all times, and except for when he's playing the Dolphins as a Jet, and when he was with the Packers. But, and there's a certain thing about just pushing the limits, and I think he's at the breaking point, and he's on the edge of possibly making things very, very bad for himself. But let's talk about who did play in this game. Listen, this Dolphins team, coming off of that historically bad loss against the Tennessee Titans on Monday night, they needed to make a statement, and I think they did. When you shut out an opponent and hang 30 on their head, that is making a statement. Let's hope, the defense continues balling out this way because the Cowboys, Ravens, and the Bills. Those are very tough teams to play, and the Dolphins have their work cut out for them. But you guys aren't here for that. You guys are here for a post-game review. So let's get into it. Miami Dolphins had 16 first downs to New York Jets 11. There were 55 total plays for Jets, 57 for Jets. Let's see, what are we talking about here? Red zone. The Jets didn't get into red zone a single time. Dolphins not efficient in the red zone again, 2 for 5. So that's something that want to see, above 50, like 3 for 5. But, in the circumstance of the game, so be it. But when it comes down to these next couple of games, and if that's the case, and the Dolphins may or may not lose by a possession or two, those are the things that we're going to be pointing to. Inefficiency in the red zone. I understand no Tyreek today, but they were heavy on the running game. And I don't blame them. Let's go to penalties. Penalties. The Jets had 7 penalties for 55 total yards. Dolphins had 9 penalties for 65 total yards. A lot of miscues on offense in terms of penalties, like false starts, etc. That set back the Dolphins a lot. If not, the Dolphins, I wouldn't say put 60 on the board, but they could have at least put 40 something on the board if had a lot of these penalties not gone against the Dolphins. But so be it. They were called. There was an offensive offsides. If anyone is questioning whether or not that is being called, especially after last week with the Chiefs, having an entire meltdown, it is getting called still in the NFL. And so be it. It was complete. I forgot who lined up offsides, but they were completely offsides. It was the Dolphins. Anyways, let's talk about other things. Turnovers. Dolphins forced 4 turnovers. We'll talk about that in a second. And then time of possession, 23 minutes, 39 seconds for the Jets, 36 minutes, 21 seconds for the Miami Dolphins. Let's get into the box score stats. So we have 2 quarterbacks for the Jets. I honestly don't know what the Jets are doing with the whole Zach Wilson experience. Last week, career day, AFC Offensive Player of the Week. This week, gets humbled by the Dolphins for sure. But pull them at halftime? Like, come on, man. Yeah, you're down, 24 at halftime? But still, like, what? Trevor Siemian is not a better option. He did have a better day, but that's because the Dolphins were up by so much. They started playing lax. The defense knew exactly what to do against Zach Wilson. So did that play a factor? Maybe. But just let the guy play out the game. He's your best option. I'm sorry. He is. Anyways, Trevor Siemian, 14 of 26, 110 yards, 2 interceptions, sacked twice for a loss of 19 total yards. And then Zach Wilson, 4 of 11, 26 total yards, sacked 4 times for a loss of 37 total yards. So with all the math there, and if you take the yardage from the sacks, the Jets had 80 total passing yards. But overall, without the sacks, they had 136. So that, take that into consideration. Tua went 21 of 24. Great game for the guy. 224 total yards, 1 touchdown, sacked 3 times for a loss of 15. So that was definitely something that, with the depleted O-line, you could have expected. But some of these were Tua's undoing. So that's some things to take away from it. Mike White, 2 of 2 for 4 yards. Happy to see the boy got in there, got some snaps, take some knees against this New York Jets team. And then rushing, 6 total rushing attempts for 12 yards for Brees Hall. Israel Abanikanda, I probably butchered that. No shot that's happening. We had 4 carries for 8 yards. Dalvin Cook, 1 carry, 4 yards. Ashton Davis, 1 carry for minus 1 yard. Raheem Mostert, 15 carries for 42 total yards, 2 touchdowns. Devon Achane, 9 carries, 32 total yards. Jeff Wilson, 2 carries, 5 yards. Mike White, 2 carries, minus 2 yards. Those were the QB meals. Receiving, Xavier Gibson was the leading receiver for this Jets team, and that's the guy who was undrafted and brought onto the team because of his special team skills, which was exemplified literally in week 1. 2 receptions for 29 total yards. Garrett Wilson, 3 receptions, 29 total yards. Alan Lazard, 3 receptions, 21 yards. Tyler Conklin, 4 receptions, 18 yards. And then Jeremy Rucker, 2 receptions, 16 total yards. For the Miami Dolphins, Jalen Waddle had himself a day. 8 receptions, 142 yards. 1 touchdown, which was his longest reception on the day. I think his longest reception of the season, honestly, with 60 total yards on that one. Durham Smythe, 4 receptions, 32 total yards. Devon Achane, 3 receptions, 30 yards. Braxton Berrios, 1 reception, 12. Chase Claypool, 2 receptions, 8 yards. And then Cedric Wilson, 2 receptions, 2 yards. There's a couple more, but no yardage really there. Let's go to the fumbles. Trevor Siemian had a fumble and lost it. That was recovered by Bradley Chubb. And then Zach Wilson had a fumble and was lost and recovered by Zach Sealer. When he looks at the Jets, Jordan Whitehead was the leading tackler with 8 total, 4 solo. CJ Mosley right behind him, 7 total, 5 solo, 1 tackle for a loss. And then let's get some key stats. DJ Reed, 1 pass deflection. Quincy Williams, 1 pass deflection. Ashton Davis, a tackle for a loss. Same thing for Michael Carter II. Jermaine Johnson, 2 tackles for a loss. Tony Adams, a tackle for a loss. Solomon Thomas, a tackle for a loss, sack, and a QB hit. Quentin Williams, half a sack and 2 QB hits. Bryce Huff, a sack, tackle for a loss, QB hits. And Will McDonald, the 4th, with half a sack and a QB hit. For the Miami Dolphins, Bradley Chubb, leading tackler, 7 total, 5 solo, 3 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss, 3 QB hits. David Long Jr., 1 tackle for a loss. He had 6 total tackles, 1 solo. Brandon Jones, 2 pass deflections. Duke Riley, half a sack, pass deflection, and a QB hit. Eli Apple, Elijah Campbell, both with a pass deflection. Andrew Van Ginkel, half a sack and a pass deflection, 2 QB hits. Christian Wilkins, half a sack, tackle for a loss, and a QB hit. And then, let's see, Manuel Agba, half a sack, QB hit. Cameron Gaulday had a QB hit, and Raekwon Davis had 2 QB hits. Ethan Bonner had a pass deflection. Same thing for Jalen Ramsey. And then last but not least, Kader Kohu, 1 QB hit. I love seeing Kader Kohu just get down in there and coming out with at least some type of good pressure, QB hit, etc. Brandon Jones had 2 interceptions. One was down as soon as he caught it, and then the other one was returned for 40 total yards, which you saw in the highlight. Braxton Berrios had a punt return for 4 yards. 4 punt returns for 53 total yards, longest of 19. Love that he's putting a stamp on his game there. Jason Sanders went 3 for 3 on field goals, longest of 37, and 3 for 3 on extra points. Punting, Thomas Morstead, 5 total punts, 267 total yards, longest of 59. And then Jake Bailey, 4 total punts, 143 total yards, 3 of which were in the 20, and longest of 42. Whoa, that's a lot of stuff. All right. Keys to victory was run the ball, spread the ball, don't let Tua get sacked. Ran the ball decently, 77 total yards rushing. Not the best, but I'll take it with how this game went. Tua was very efficient with the passes. Almost went the whole entire first half without throwing an incompletion. On top of that, just, I know a couple of them were screens, quick little throws. I understand that. But he was making the right reads. In terms of the ones that actually went down the field, at least around about 5 or so more yards. Just finding the guy who's open and letting him get out in space and get upfield. Aside from that, offensively, spread the ball pretty well. And protecting Tua, 3 sacks. I would give 1.5 sacks to his own doing. The other 1.5, I would blame it on the offensive line not being able to protect. And given this is a great Jets defensive line, specifically, their defense is pretty good, but I would give kudos to their defensive line. That's probably their bread and butter. The secondary is no slouch as well. Defensively, get after the quarterback. 6 total sacks. If that's not getting after the quarterback, I don't know what is. limiting the running game. They had 23 rushing yards. As a team, the New York Jets had 103 total yards. The Miami Dolphins had 290. I mean, if that doesn't tell you to tell this game, I don't know what will. I don't want to be tooting the horn too much. I mean, this Dolphins team was playing a Jets team who not that great, honestly. I would really love to see how this Jets team is with Aaron Rodgers and if it's such a difference maker or not. The offensive line is not that great, so I'm very scared for him to come back to this team with the O-line that they're running right now. If they get some changes in there, if they get some studs, I would love to see that for them. But aside from that, I don't know. But no Tyreek Hill, and still was able to get it done. Passing the ball, 224 passing yards, not too bad. Not too bad against his Jets defense, who the Dolphins were trying to kill the clock as much as possible. They were just trying to get in there, get out of the game. And I don't blame them. It's a game that you don't want to be in. You thought the weather conditions were going to be horrendous. I can't wait to see the Hard Knocks episode on this game just because I can imagine it's all about, hey, ball security, close out the game, and then on top of that, just hey, we're gonna run the hell out of this ball, even if it's not efficient. Just keep on that clock ticking, tick, 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 tick. But yeah, I'm happy with this Dolphins win. A shutout is always awesome to see, and haven't seen too many of those from this Dolphins team, and it's not a slight towards the defense. I think the way the offense plays sometimes puts the defense in jeopardizing positions if they can get down the field pretty fast. Doesn't give the defense a lot of rest, especially in some of these big time games where you're facing a pretty formidable opponent on offense. Yeah, all in all, great win by the Miami Dolphins, 30-0, improved to 10-4, 6-1 at home. And then in terms of the standings, if you're a Dolphins fan watching this, by the time this video gets posted, the game's probably over. But you're rooting for this Baltimore Ravens team to lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Do I think that's going to be the case? I don't think so. Currently, as we're making this video, the Ravens are up 3-0. So I expect the Ravens to win. So it's really going to come down to that New Year's Eve game against the Baltimore Ravens to decide who gets the number one seed, honestly. But there could be things that play a factor into that, like, wait for it, next week, the Baltimore Ravens play the San Francisco 49ers. Should they lose that game, that just puts the Dolphins in position, and the Dolphins would have the tiebreaker should they have the same record as the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know too much now with that loss against Tennessee, but I would assume so. It's still in play. So let's see if that's the case. But appreciate you guys for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.